I was driving through Colorado in the middle of the night. I was in Tabernash at this point, and it must have been like 1 a.m. I'd stopped to get some gas and grab a snack at a gas station, and after that, I got straight back on the road. There weren't any cars on the road at this hour, especially not the roads I was on. I still obeyed the speed limit because it was late, I was tired, and you never know where a cop could be hiding. I was going around 55 on this winding road when all of a sudden, that dreaded flashing of lights appeared in my rearview mirror. I looked in my mirror and saw the car behind me with the flashing white and red lights, so I pulled over, but not before looking at my speed and confirming that I was only going maybe 2 miles per hour over the speed limit. I pulled onto the side of the road, and so did the vehicle behind me. I was beyond annoyed. I'd never been pulled over before at the time, and I'm always a cautious and careful driver. I immediately felt like I was being pulled over unlawfully. As the officer stepped up to my car, I lowered the window. He greeted me, asking for my license and registration. I tried to act like I know my rights and would not just bend over backwards for him, so I asked, "Is there a reason you pulled me over?" He said he'll get to that in a minute. I told him I know I wasn't speeding or swerving, and none of my taillights are out, so I don't want to hand you my license if this is an unlawful stop. Then I took a look at his uniform. It looked off. He wasn't in all black with the black vest that resembled a police vest, but his vest didn't say police anywhere on it. His badge didn't say police either. It said Criminal Task Force. He kept insisting for my license and registration, and I actually just flat out asked him, "Are you an actual cop?" He replied, "I'm part of the undercover unit." Then he asked for my license again. I asked him for his badge number. He said he didn't have to give that to me. I knew enough about traffic stops to know that was complete bullshit. Every cop has to give their badge number when requested. I told him, "If you're a real cop, you wouldn't have a problem calling your supervisor here." He didn't like this. He raised the volume of his voice and his tone got more assertive as he repeated for me to get out of the car. I replied, "I don't think you're a real cop. If you are, you wouldn't have a problem getting your supervisor here." I rolled up the window a bit, and he didn't like this at all. He yelled at me to open the door as he put his hands on my window and tried unlocking the door from the outside. I pushed his hands off as I started the car and put it in drive. I heard him shout, "Stop!" as I started flooring it away from him. My heart was racing, and by God, I was hoping I was right, or I was going to jail. But at the same time, hoping I was right that this man was impersonating a cop showed just how terrifying of a situation I was in. As I was driving away, going the speed limit, I saw the car behind me with the lights on, fast approaching. I did the only thing I could think to do. I called 911. I told the dispatcher on the phone that I was being chased by someone who I believed to be a fake cop. I said he refused to give his badge number. His car was unmarked and didn't have blue lights, and his uniform didn't say police. After asking my location and more details on the situation, I told her that I was being chased by this person. The woman told me the nearest police station for my location, the Fraser Winter Park Police Department. She requested I go there, and she would be dispatching an officer to meet me there. The guy in his car was following me halfway to my destination with his lights still on. But suddenly, when we got to an intersection, he turned his lights off and turned right, driving off out of view. He was gone. And with that, I realized that my suspicion was true the whole time. I was pulled over by a guy pretending to be a cop. I still drove to the police station, where there was a cop sitting in his car in the parking lot. I pulled in, and he got out, seemingly knowing it was me that he was meeting. Right away, I told him every last detail of the encounter. The guy's face, his car, and what intersection he turned right at. He took down my contact information. I never heard anything back. But every time I drive that highway at night now, I check my rearview mirror obsessively. Because I know, if I hadn't questioned him, if I had gotten out of that car like he demanded, I might not be here to tell this story. This happened only a couple of months ago, so I'm still quite on edge. I had a group of friends that lived about an hour and a half away from me, and I would frequently go hang out with them. The drive never really bothered me, but after this particular night, everything changed. I first noticed the car about 20 minutes into my trip home. It was about 2 a.m., so not many cars were on the road. This guy was practically riding my bumper, which I thought was strange because there were no other cars out. I quickly wrote it off and tuned back into my music. The time on the freeway is about 55 minutes, and he was behind me the entirety of it. When I saw he was getting off at the same exit I did, I got a little anxious, but I told myself I was just being paranoid. I was heading home to my apartment, which was about 10 more minutes from the freeway exit. But this car stayed behind me. Every turn I made, he made. Every street, every light. I started testing it. I took a random turn down a residential street I'd never been on before. He followed. I made 3 quick right turns in a row, basically going in a circle. He was still there. My heart was pounding. I tried slowing down way below the speed limit to see if he'd pass me. He slowed down too, maintaining the exact same distance. I was panicking at this point. There was no way this was a coincidence anymore. I thought about driving home, but I didn't want this person to know where I lived. I was driving through red lights and stop signs because I was scared of what would happen if I stopped. I was so desperate, so I called the police and told them I was being followed for over an hour. I gave them a description of the car and my location. The dispatcher told me to drive to the police station, and there would be officers waiting in the parking lot. As soon as I turned into the parking lot, the car sped off. One of the police cruisers immediately flipped on their lights and followed them. I stayed at the station and gave my statement, but I never got a call or anything like that after that night. The worst part? I still don't know who it was or what they wanted, but I think about it every time I drive at night now. I think about what would have happened if I'd gone home. If I'd pulled into my apartment complex parking lot with that car behind me. If I'd gotten out of my car. I never drive home alone at night anymore. Ever. This happened back when I was stationed at an Air Force base. My friends Stacy, Tracy, and I decided to take a weekend road trip. We were young, excited, and honestly pretty naive about how dangerous the world could be. That weekend taught us a lesson we'd never forget. We were driving back to base late at night, probably around 11 p.m. or midnight. We'd crossed from one state into another, and the roads were getting more and more rural. Fewer streetlights, fewer cars, just dark highway stretching endlessly ahead. Then we saw the lights, red and blue flashing lights behind us. A police car. Stacy, who was driving, immediately pulled over to the side of the highway. We weren't speeding or doing anything wrong, so we were confused but not particularly worried. A man in what looked like a police uniform walked up to our window. He told Stacy she'd been swerving and asked if she'd been drinking. She said no. She was completely sober. He asked for her license and registration. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to follow me to the station." Stacy asked why. If she needed a breathalyzer, he could do it right there. He insisted she needed to follow him. Something about his tone felt wrong. His uniform looked slightly off. And the car, it had lights, but now that I looked closer, it didn't look exactly like the patrol cars we'd seen earlier that day. But what were we supposed to do? He was a cop, or at least we thought he was. So Stacy followed his car as he pulled back onto the highway. We drove for what felt like forever. He didn't take us back toward the town we'd just passed. Instead, he led us deeper into rural darkness. No buildings, no lights, just empty fields and woods. Tracy whispered, "This doesn't feel right." I agreed, but we were terrified to do anything. What if we were wrong? What if he really was a cop and we got in even more trouble? Finally, he turned off the highway onto a dirt road. My heart was pounding. Stacy's hands were shaking on the steering wheel. We followed, our headlights illuminating nothing but dust and darkness. The officer drove for several minutes down this dirt road. Then he pulled into an area with a big, beat-up old barn. As he stopped and we stopped behind him, a group of men with shotguns exited the barn. It wasn't until that point that we realized we were in mortal danger. Panic set in. The officer walked back to our car and told Stacy to get out and follow him to his car. As she got out, she looked at me and Tracy, and there was sheer terror on her face. She followed him to his car, and he motioned her to get in on the passenger side. She did. Tracy and I sat frozen in the back seat, watching through the windshield as they sat in his car. We couldn't hear what was being said. The men with shotguns stood near the barn watching us, waiting. Time felt like it stopped. Every second felt like an hour. We didn't know if we'd ever see Stacy alive again. Then suddenly the passenger door of the police car flew open. Stacy jumped out and sprinted back to our car. She didn't say a word. She just threw herself into the driver's seat, turned on the car, whipped it around, and sped back down the dirt road as fast as she could. We heard yelling behind us. I looked back and saw the men running toward trucks. They were coming after us. Stacy somehow navigated back to the highway in complete darkness, barely slowing down even when the road curved. We were crying, screaming, praying we'd make it out alive. As soon as we crossed back over into Nebraska, Stacy pulled over on the side of the highway. Then she began to sob heavily. Tracy and I hugged her and asked if she was hurt in any way. She shook her head no. She wasn't hurt. After she calmed down enough, she told us what happened in the police car. The man told her that he and his friends liked having fun with pretty girls who came through their area. He said if she cooperated, he'd let us go. If she screamed or tried to run, his friends would kill all three of us. But then something happened. Another car drove past on the main highway. Just a random car. Probably not even aware of what was happening down that dirt road. But it spooked him. He told her to get out and leave, and to never come back to that area. We never reported it. We were young, scared, and honestly worried no one would believe us. We just wanted to forget it happened. But I think about it all the time. I think about how close we came. I think about what would have happened if that car hadn't driven by. And I think about all the other women who might have driven down that highway, followed those fake police lights, and never made it out.